Welcome back. So, today we're gonna go ahead, install and set up Wireshark to function properly. What is Wireshark? Well, Wireshark is used for monitoring of all network traffic, and it does gives us some pretty advanced options there. Why do we need this? Well, before I show you how to do anything in terms of this course subject, ethical hacking, I wish to show you how you can protect yourselves and how can you be aware of what is going on in your system. So since we will be opening up our system for external communication, we will be allowing traffic from outside to reach us and we will be reaching to outside. We want to be able to monitor and be aware of what is going on. So that is the primary principle, I guess, to all of this, because you want to be able to know what is going on with your own system. By the way, one of the best ways of figuring out whether or not your system is infected, whether or not your system is making unauthorized communication, is to set up a proxy through which that system's connections go and then monitor the traffic on that proxy. And if you see something that's not supposed to be there, you know that there is something fishy going on. Anyway, let's go ahead and type in DNF. I would advise you to have one root terminal and one non-root terminal, but you can also achieve this in this terminal by typing in sudo and then DNF, basically. However, I like to open up a root terminal, type in sudo su, and you will become root after giving the proper password. So DNF, search Wireshark, and this is going to give me a couple of options. I can type in DNF install Wireshark, and this is going to pick one of the two. It's going to pick on the basis of whether your system is 64-bit or 32-bit. The second one is for 64-bit. And then I would like to install this as well. So I need the GUI. So Control-Shift-C and the Control-Shift-V. Wireshark is also fully usable via the terminal. But for some tools, if there is no need to use the terminal, if the GUI interface is nice and fine and dandy, sometimes I do prefer it, actually. Especially in Wireshark, although pretty much everything can be done via the command line as well. Wireshark is compatible with pretty much all the operating systems out there. So if you have a MacBook or something like that, you can also install it there and see what's going on in your network as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and start Wireshark as a regular user. And this is not going to work to the best way because it won't have Wireshark has no access to the network interfaces, and this is a problem. And says no interface can be used for capturing in this system with the current configuration. It cannot run a dump cap in child process, blah, blah, permission denied. And it's clearly asking you whether or not the user is a member of the Wireshark group, and then it's telling me to try a certain command, which will enable for this to occur. So let's go ahead and actually do it and see what happens. Just basically rewrite it from here. I mean, do what the program is instructing you to do. So user mod -a-g Wireshark, and then type in your username. So don't type in root, but your username. Chronic, so that's mine. You will obviously write yours and not mine, as it would make literally no sense if you wrote yours. If you wrote mine, that is, then press enter. And let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, so it says still that it cannot actually do this. It cannot actually get the interfaces. Well, there are two things that could have went wrong. One of the primary problems, could be that we just need to relog to our system and then actually try to then see if the changes have been applied, because usually such changes are not applied until a new session is created. If that fails, we'll go ahead and take a look at a different approach. So let's go here, leave, and I'm going to go ahead and state that I want to log out. and this is going to pause the recording, so we will continue in the follow-up. Okay, so welcome back. After I have logged out and logged back in, Wireshark seems to be working just fine with a regular user. So Wireshark starts off, and I get a list of all the interfaces from the left side. Now, Wireshark is filled to the brim with options on end, but I'm going to go over some of the basic ones here with you now so that you can orientate yourselves and know how to use its basic options and filters. And later on, as we move and progress with the tutorial, we'll probably be utilizing Wireshark, and then I'll explain all the things that we need to know once we get to that point in time. But you do need to have it set up at least so you can monitor what is going on your network. Now, you can go ahead and pick an interface which you are using at the moment, or you can just click on any. Any will capture any traffic going on any of the listed interfaces. So if I go ahead and start this, there is nothing here. There is nothing here because I have no connections of whatsoever going on. But if I was to, let's say, ping google.com, and please, when you're pinging, don't leave the ping to hang. Don't be rude. Just ping a couple of times and stop. If the people are kind enough to allow ICMP protocols for ping to go through, then don't abuse it because you're wasting somebody's bandwidth. And as you can see, immediately the ping goes through and there is traffic happening. What I meant by this is that ping, I mean, it doesn't take a huge amount of bandwidth, but it still consumes somebody's bandwidth. And if somebody's kind enough to allow you to ping them, then don't just leave the ping to go on in. Ping a couple of times, see if you have internet connectivity, see if you can get the packages going, press Control-C, which is a universal interrupt on the Unix terminal. Anyway, so what do we got here? We have source IP address, destination IP address, and protocol. Those are the three main things that we are interested in here. Now, you can apply filters here, and I'm just going to go ahead and open up a web browser. That's going to cause a ton load of connections to occur. And as you can see, it's beginning to fill itself just by opening it up and by going to the home page. So what I can do here is basically do some sort of filtering. I can say TCP, well actually UDP, a UDP protocol, and I can type in dot port and EQ for equals. Oops, am I missing something here? UDP dot port. Okay. Equals, and we're gonna say 53. 53 is the port for DNS servers. DNS servers work on the port 53. If I press enter, and you can see immediately that protocol has changed to DNS and all the queries. I have all my DNS queries here. You can see where am I going from where. As you can see, the first one was google.com that I've pinged. And something to do with Fedora project, the one that I've, the landing page is set to the Fedora. And again, you have the certification and a lot of other things. It doesn't really matter. I can state, hey, port 80, press enter. There's nothing, of course, because there's nothing on UDP. You have UDP and TCP. UDP does not require acknowledgement, TCP does. I press enter, there you go. Let me open up, I don't know, let's say YouTube. And type in YouTube. You can immediately see that there is more traffic going on. You can see the source IP addresses and the destination IP addresses. So from which point to which point is the traffic going? So yeah. If I change this back up again, let me just go ahead and do this UDP and port 53. And if I go to the YouTube website, you should see it's not called YouTube anymore. It's like Y static. There we go. So there are some things for YouTube here, they have to be, if I go over to their website, they're gonna appear there. So you can see towards which domains are you requesting, which domains are being requested from your machine. Now there are other filters which you can apply, which you can basically filter by IP. Okay. You can basically type in IP dot DST, which is destination. You can type in SRC, which is the source. So DST, I want a destination IP. I want to filter by a destination IP, and you can just type in double equal mark, which also stands for equals. And what do we got here? Well, I'm not gonna. Let me just find an IP address here. Okay, let's use the 54 one. IP.dst equals, and we're gonna use the 54.229.105.92. Okay, so IP destination and all the requests towards this IP address have been listed here, all of them, down to the last one since the capture has started. So you have all of them. If you want to look by a source, you just change this IP to .src. So those are the two basic filters that I wanted to show you. One to filter by IP address, another one to filter by protocol and port. That's way you will be able to know what is going on your network. Now you can of course save these files, then open them up later on if you like with Wireshark as well. Nothing to it. We'll just save and double click on the saved file and that's it. Or just go onto File, Open, and then find the file which you have actually saved. Yeah. So that shouldn't be much of a problem. So these are the 3-4 basic things that you need to know about Wireshark, and this is how you configure it to run as a non-root user, which is the most important part of these setup videos. We're setting up our environment so that we can use it later on. Anyway, gonna go ahead and bid you farewell. And before I do, don't worry about some of these things here. The errors that you get, they're not really important. They're not really errors, they're warnings. Warning is not an error. There's a failure. When it's an error, it will fail. When it's a warning, it's fine. It's gonna still work, but some things might not work. In our case, it's the oxygen theme, which is completely irrelevant for Wireshark. Anyway, now I bid you farewell and hope to see you later on. Welcome all. So today I'm gonna go ahead and teach you about proxies, how they are used to mask your real IP address, and I will show you how you can use a proxy, how you can actually configure your own proxy for others to use, and I will show you what the person controlling the proxy can actually see. So if you have your own proxy, if there are people connecting to it, and believe me, there will be people connecting to it, especially if it's a free version of it, you'll be able to see their traffic in essence, which is kind of hilarious. But a lot of people think just because they're going over a proxy that gives them a good amount of anonymity, but not really. The person controlling the proxy sees a lot of things which you would rather remain anonymous, that nobody sees it, but they do, because they run over their servers, so they have the ability to monitor the servers, and I will show you how this is done. Now, because you need to set up a proxy server, I will do most of these things in the cloud. I deliberately actually opted out not to show you how to do it on your own machine, even though it is very much possible and quite frankly not that difficult. But it's also kind of dangerous because you're opening up your own machine to the external traffic, and for an inexperienced person, that is a very bad idea. Anyway, let's go ahead and see how we can actually connect to a proxy. Let's fire up Firefox. So Firefox, and if I only have one instance of Firefox open because I'm gonna go ahead and configure Firefox to use a proxy. So you can configure it here, but that's a GUI interface for Firefox. well, I might as well show you. I mean, it's not a big deal. Preferences. If you just go to, where is it? Is it general search? Applications, security, advanced networking should be there. Advanced networks. So you can actually configure your connection here. You can use the manual proxy configuration, but I prefer to use the system proxy settings. So when I go ahead and type in proxy chains and tunnel the Firefox through the proxy chains, I'm going to be connected to a proxy over which I will go elsewhere. Another thing that this doesn't really allow you to do is, at least I don't know of a way. There could be. It's very possible that there is a way to create chains of proxies so that you hop from one proxy to another and then bounce back to your destination. So this is not something that I like to use at all. Rather, instead, if you let's just confirm what is my IP. So this is my IP address at the moment. And if I go ahead and type in list of free proxies, I don't know, let's just go ahead and open some of them. You can actually also pay for proxies, and they will be very stable and they will work and they'll be very fast, but I'm just gonna go ahead and use the ones that I got. So it says here Sarajevo, Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, so you know where I am. And I'm gonna go ahead and use one of these. Oh, these actually go over the domains. Oh, wow. Nah, let me just use the IP addresses. Better that way. Okay, so India. No. You have them set here can list them by the anonymity level. The reason why I said India no, it's because it's way too far and my connection will be kind of slow and the bandwidth in India is not the best. China. I've been in China and it's a great place, but the connection it's not slow, but like there are a lot of sites which are actually blocked. But hey, that's why they have VPNs, but then it slows down. Anyway, let me just go ahead and use the, oh, come on, isn't there anything in Europe like, we can forget about it. I'm gonna go ahead and use the US ones. There's a fairly good link in terms of cable between the Europe and the US, so I can use these. Anyway, it says here IP address, port, and protocol. These are all HTTP and HTTPS proxies. I wonder if they have any SOCKS 5 proxies. No, apparently they do not. So I'm not gonna go ahead and use these. Generally, you want to SOCKS 5 as they are the best proxies available out there. Okay, so let's have a look at here. SOCKS 5. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use these. SOCKS 4. Oh well. Okay, so now that we have this page opened up, we can go ahead and start installing the tools that we actually need. So you will need to install proxy chains. Just be root. Oh wait, I'm still with my tour thing lectures. Type in DNF, search proxy chains, and you will get them here. Then just type in DNF install proxy chains, and you don't need to type in the arch here. Actually, you can just type in proxy chains, and that will be sufficient. -ng. Okay, so it's already installed, so there is literally nothing to do there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and type in vim/etc proxychains.conf. And I'm going to go ahead and expand this console a little bit so I can actually see what is going on. And here you have a good amount of options. So you have the dynamic chain, you have the strict chain, you have round robin chain, random chain, and some other things, but they're really not important that well. This one is here by default, so that's good. But they're really not that important. So what we want is to actually, first of all, use a dynamic chain. What does it mean? Well, if you have a list of proxies through which you wish to go, you can utilize the strict chain, what is set here by default. And a strict chain is generally a good option if you have a list of paid proxies and you know that they will work 100% pretty much. But it's a pretty bad option if you are using free proxies because they tend to go up and down. And if one of the proxies in the chain is down, your entire chain will be unusable. So the dynamic chain is superior in this regard because regardless of whether or not all the proxies are functional, the chain will still work in a dynamic fashion. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to delete this. Press I for insert mode, and then you'll be able to type things in. And I will comment the strict chain out. I also have the round robin, which is kind of a hybrid thing. Feel free to read through it, but I generally like to use either the random chain or the dynamic chain. So random chain is a fairly good thing. So each connection will be done via random proxy. But again, random and dynamic chains are really good when you have a list of free proxies, and sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. So it's not a bad idea to actually use them. You can leave everything else as it is. Wow, they've actually increased the configuration file since the last time I've seen it. And now I'm gonna go ahead and type in SOX 5 127.0.0.1.950. Okay, just so you know, if you don't type in any of the proxy lists, any proxies like here, like they are typed in this example here, the proxy chains will by default actually use the Tor network in order to anonymize you, which is actually one of the best types of anonymization protocol, one of the best ways of being anonymous on the net. But since we're gonna have a separate lecture for the Tor, we're gonna go ahead and see how this works with the manual list of proxies when you type them in. Okay, so it says here US. Let's go ahead and type it in. So just what type? Dude, are you serious? Are you not listing the type? Here are some free SOX proxies that are just checked. Yes, but is it SOX 4 or SOX 5, genius? Okay, version SOX 5. Thank you very much for my stupidity, but oh well. Let's go ahead and begin typing them in as the example above demonstrates. So if you have a paid proxy, we'll just need to probably type in the password, the username and the password. So the username goes here and the password goes here. That's quite literally it. So SOX 5. And this is going to be like, what's the IP address? Let's just copy it. I am not in the mood to type today like a bad. Let's go ahead and take the port as well. And there we go. So let me just go ahead and delete this tabify it, so to say. Okay. I am one of the people that likes to use tabs a lot, and it's against spaces completely. Don't start an argument in the discussion sections, please. Over tabs and spaces. I don't even know why I mentioned that. Okay, let's list another proxy here, and the port is 10,200. So So 10,200. I actually have literally no idea which ones of these will actually work and which ones won't. So I am just, oh wow, this one is in Brazil. SOX 5. And the port is 48,000. You can actually configure your proxy to listen on pretty much any port. That's really not a big deal. Oh my god. But now we're just skip Bolivia and use the United States because the bandwidth is probably going to be really bad. SOX 5. Although, arguably, you would get a better level of anonymity in these countries as opposed to perhaps some of the Western countries due to the regulation which is in place, but the bandwidth is also not the best. Since I'm doing this for the demo purposes, it's really unimportant which proxy set am I using. I just need to show how you can actually use the proxies. So SOX 5. And the port is again 10,200. Okay, let's see if these actually work. So let's go ahead and close the browser. Type in as non-root user. So as non-root user, not as root user, not start your browser as root. Proxy chains for Firefox. Hit it. Okay, please tell me that at least one of them will work. Okay, so first one has timed out. This is not going to happen to you with a paid proxy. This is going to work with paid proxies. Okay, so let's just open up the conf file so we can see the addresses as they're being listed. So it's going from 189 to 24. It's skipping down the road because actually some of them are not actually functional, and that's the beauty of a dynamic chain. If this was a strict chain, this would crash. It just wouldn't actually work. So it's picking up the certificate, going to the certificate authority, and it's fetching my default site, and hopping and hopping and hopping. It's still loading. So it is loading the site, just taking a while. Sometimes you'll get luckier, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll get some really fast and stable proxies which are free, which is generally awesome, but most of the time free proxies will actually be pretty bad, let me put it like that. Just loading the Fedora site today, my friend, today. I wish I had more luck doing these tutorials. And let's just go ahead and try to load another one. So what is my IP? Well, this one should be easier to digest. Oh well, now it's just a matter of basically waiting. You can see in the terminal up here what sort of data is being fetched and which proxy in the chain is actually being utilized. So it seems that out of like 5 proxies that I specified here, that only one of them is actually functional, which is nothing strange compared to the which is nothing strange in the free proxy world, really. That's the price you have to pay for it being free. Again, as I stated, if you go to any of the VPN providers out there that also offer proxies or something like that, or offer paid proxies, make sure that they are reputable, that they've been around for a while, and that they have good reviews, and not reviews on their own site, but reviews on other forums. Can see what people are saying about them, and if you use them, you can have proxies there for a fairly cheap amount of money. And this is not going to happen. It's not going to be this slow. So the Fedora project is still loading. I'm going to go ahead and close that. I just wanted to show you that I have actually changed my IP if I can. It should have bought a proxy for this demo to show you how it actually works, but trust me, this is not always the case. You will you will sometimes get luckier and sometimes you won't. Just the way the world turns. No, my good man, not start Fedora project. I don't care. I really don't care. Again, don't go to the homepage. Or you're loading something. Anyway, I'm running a little bit short on time. I'm gonna come back in the follow-up tutorial where I'm gonna revise the proxy list, and then I'll restart Firefox, and then the loading time should actually be better. So, bid you farewell, and hope to see you in the follow-up tutorials where I'll just do a demo of this, and then I'll show you how to set it up and how to monitor it, how to set up a free proxy and how to monitor it, and I'll show you what sort of traffic can you actually see. Okay, so after a little bit of tinkering, I got it to work, and the tinkering consisted of me just adding more proxies to the list. If you see that some of the servers are not responding, like that there's a continuous error or that it has been denied, just go ahead and remove it from the list. That's really all that you need to do. And as you can see, this is actually functioning. It is working. And if I just enlarge my browser here, you'll see that my IP address now is 189.80.33.48 in Tres Coracoes. Minas Gracias, Brazil. I have no idea where this is. It's in Brazil somewhere, but I have no idea where in Brazil. Anyway, I can tell you for a fact, as you have seen from before, this is not my real IP address, and this is not the place from where I'm actually coming from. However, and you can see even my language settings have been changed by default and all the other things, and that is how you can basically change your IP address out there on the internet. However, if you have sticked around with the setup tutorials in the very beginning, where I've shown you how to configure Firefox, if you didn't really configure Firefox the way I have instructed you to, and if, for example, you visit a website such as Facebook with this IP, and then you visit a site, I don't know, such as Facebook or any other social media network, really, it doesn't need to be Facebook or whatever. There are cookies that each browser is assigned, and they will basically know that it's, again, you coming from the same place. That's why you need to configure the Firefox to actually clear or not clear cookies and not store history, to clear cookies on exit, basically, to make sure that every time you start the browser, it's like a fresh cold start. Cookie is just one way of tagging the users, basically. So regardless if you're changing the IP address, your browser is actually tagged with the cookies that are stored in it. Anyway, the countermeasure for that is in the very first chapters in the setup. I'm going to go ahead and bid you farewell here, and in the follow-up tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can actually set up a proxy server for yourselves, and then we're going to go ahead and connect to it and see what happens then. What sort of information are we able to see? Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Today I'm gonna go ahead and show you how you can set up your own proxy in the cloud somewhere, and how you can configure it to allow other people to use it as a free proxy, and how you yourselves can actually connect to it and use it as a free proxy as well. And then you will see what sort of information will be obtainable, what the other person controlling the proxy will be able to see, and what sort of information will you be able to see. So for this purpose, I'm gonna go ahead and use DigitalOcean. I've been using them for a while for a lot of other stuff anyway, so I might as well use them for this as well. Anyway, oops, my keyboard. So you don't need to use them. You can use anyone. Any provider whose policies allow you to run a proxy, you can go ahead and host it there. So I am not advertising them or advocating that you should actually go there. I really don't care which provider you use. If you use any, you can just sit back, relax, and see how this actually happens. You don't even need to do it yourselves. But as I said, it is completely up to you who will you use. And as you can see, I already have some active connections here to my servers. So you will need to like register on the site and all that if you want, but you will need to register on any site. So as I said, use anyone that you want. I really do not care. It doesn't matter. It's pretty cheap hosting anyway. Okay, logging in. So yeah. First I have a lot of things blocking here, and so will you. That's why the site might like be a failure to load or something like that, but it should be fine in general. Should load eventually. At the moment I have 3 servers that are running and that are operational here. Oh man, come on. Okay, so this part where it says blah blah loading, it shouldn't actually be lasting this long. I do not understand what is the matter with this thing. Is it seriously the ad blocker? Disable everywhere. Let's just go ahead and reload the site. Amazing! It's the ad blocker. That's preventing the site from actually loading properly. Anyway, so I do have 3 instances here, and I'm gonna go ahead and delete them because I've only created them for the purposes of this tutorial anyway. And then I'm gonna show you how you can create a new one. So destroying. Oh, which one did I destroy? 2, 1. Oh wait. Yep, I destroyed the one that the Tor node was running on, where I was doing experiments for the setup of the Tor nodes for the other tutorials. Oh well, no big deal. I'll just recreate it. Once you destroy it, that's it. No going back. Sorrow and tears, but it's all going to be gone. Ah, God, come on. Yeah. Okay, so you click on Create Droplet, the green button at the top, and then you can select the type of a server that you would like to run. I don't know. I have a tendency to select either Debian or CentOS. So usually one of the two I like to select. Depends what I am doing. If I need a server for virtualization, I am going to always go with the CentOS. If I need a server for just some sort of web hosting or a proxy like this or whatever, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Debian in general. You select Debian and then you select the version and select the latest version and then select your monthly budget for this instance. I really don't care. I'm just going to select the $5 here because it is completely irrelevant to me. I don't need a lot of I don't need it to actually work hard and strong or anything like that. This is just for the demo purpose. And the country, let's select something close. So Frankfurt is probably the closest to me. And okay, so you are at the point of time where you can add your own SSH keys, and you can select how many droplets you wish to be created. Now, you don't strictly need to add an SSH key, but here's the thing. DigitalOcean, or pretty much any other service provider, is going to send you the password to your email. And the password will be hilariously long. And I don't think that you'll be able to actually copy-paste it. And that's gonna... I don't like using very long passwords for SSH logins, which might seem stupid to you, but it's really not. You take something that's even longer, which is an ARSA key, which is ridiculously long, and then you store it onto a system, restrict access to the file, and just use it to log into the server, which is an awesome way of actually managing. Actually, it is the recommended way of logging into the servers. So what I am going to do here, okay, these terminals are completely dead. I'm just going to go ahead and close the windows, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can generate your own ARSA keys, so public and private keys, so that you are able to log into these servers in a secure fashion. So if you want to use a different machine to log into these servers, you're going to need to actually copy these keys onto that machine. And this is the ARSA keys. The SSH in general is mainly like a Linux and a Mac thing. Can work on Windows as well. with putty. But let's just go ahead and begin with this procedure. So you type in SSH dash keygen dash t arsa keygen. Okay, you don't need to type in anything in particular here. You can type in a specific file where would you like to save it, but the default location is fine. So it's the home folder, your username, and then .ssh. Just press enter. You're not gonna get this, but I already have an RC key from my previous droplet, so I don't really care. So I'm gonna go ahead and overwrite that. You can also add an additional passphrase to this, but I'm not gonna do that. There's really no need. I just press enter twice, and you shouldn't really show these things to anyone, your private keys or whatever. But I don't really care. This is just for the demo purposes. And once I'm done, I will destroy these keys and I will destroy this instance anyway. So you type in cd/home, your username, and then .ssh, and then do ls, and you will see it says idarsa, idarsa.pub, and known hosts. So I'm going to go ahead and type in vim. Known hosts. So these are the known hosts which have been remembered. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let me just go ahead and quit. You can also modify the known hosts file manually. I'm just gonna go ahead and purge it. So I don't have any hosts that I have actually remembered, because RSA keys are specific to an IP. Once you generate the SSH RSA keys, they're specific to an IP address. Even though the IP address can change, you will get a warning stating that the IP address has changed and then there is a possibility of a man-in-the-middle attack. But usually it's not a problem, it's just that the IP address has changed. Anyway, do ls again, and you have ID arsa, so we're not going to touch that, but we have ID arsa pub. And that is the one that we actually need. So just go ahead and type in cat id arsa.pub. Great, I've just displayed my private key, but as I said, it really is irrelevant because I'm gonna go ahead and destroy this machine afterwards anyway. ID arsa, that's what I'm doing basically. I've created a setup, I've created an environment, I've created everything for you so that I can do the full demo where I don't need to actually hide or conceal any sort of information. Rather, instead, I can just show you everything, and then just afterwards, I'm gonna destroy it and create a new system. Okay, so cat id _arsa.pub. That's your public key. So press enter, and you can just go ahead and copy the whole thing. Go back to the website, and it says add your SSH keys. So there is my key, which I have added previously for the other instances, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that I would like to import a new key here. And I'm going to name this one new key. The name is arbitrary. You can name it any way you like. Add an SSH key and click create down below. You are not going to need anything else. Okay, so this is creating the process is fairly fast. Even if you pick a bigger one, it's still very fast. It would seem that all of the disks that they offer are SSD disks, which is kind of nice. Unfortunately, I cannot log in or do anything like that until this process actually completes. Just wait, and then we need to. Oh, okay, let's get to work. It's done. So I have the IP address. They have a copy button. Thank you. And let me just go ahead and clear the screen. CD clear the screen again, and type in SSH. It will be installed by default. Root at Control-Shift-V. Press enter. Type in yes. So the authenticity of the host cannot be established. It has some sort of fingerprint, which is not matched by anything in your known host file because we've just purged the known host file. And yep, our known host file now contains this IP address and the fingerprint here. Okay, so we are logged into the machine, and if I type in ifconfig, you can see that the IP address is whatever this is, and if I type in ifconfig down below, you will see that the IP address here is completely different. So this is like my private LAN IP address, while this here is a public IP address, which can be used to actually access this via the net. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is actually start configuring our machine for the proxy. First things first, we're gonna need another user. So add user, and the name of this user, it's arbitrary. You can put whatever you want. I'm gonna go ahead and name my user proxy. No, I'm gonna name my user sheep. So this username will be sheep. Should I add something? Nah, you can only use lowercase letters if I'm not mistaken. Enter a new Unix password for the user sheep. So just enter it even though it won't be displayed on the screen. Okay, so enter the new value for the user, full name, don't care, room number, don't care, work phone, don't care, don't care, don't care. Is this information correct? Yes, it absolutely is. Thank you. So these are only options that you can fill for the user. They're not mandatory things. I mean, if you just press enter onto an empty field, it's going to be fine. So if I type in SU sheep, I shall become a sheep. If I type in SU, oh God, don't do this to me. Because I don't know the root password. I didn't actually get it via mail. I probably did get it via mail, but I didn't actually bother to check because I used the key to log in, so I don't know the root password. I need to actually change the root password. Sudo su. Oh God. Okay, let's just log out and log back in. This was like extremely stupid. Just type in exit and then oh, okay. I don't need to actually log out. I just exited back. So I am back as root, and let's type in pass wd and change the password for root, for God's sakes. Let's just type in something. I don't know. It's just whatever. Make sure you don't forget it. So I've created a new user. I've updated the password for root. And now I'm going to go ahead and edit my SSH settings. So VIM, do I have VIM? I do. Excellent. I'm so happy that VIM comes installed by default on Debian. It still doesn't come installed by default on Fedora, unfortunately. VIM slash etc ssh sshd config. Press enter. And this is the config file for sshd. So we're just going to need to change a few things here for the sake of security. So permit root login. That is the line that we are looking for. Permit root login. And just go ahead and just type this in without password. Okay, so right quit. And now just type in service SSH restart, service SSHD restart, and then type in exit. You're back in your host client, and now go ahead and attempt to log back in as root. And there you go. So we have actually managed to log back in. We've managed to log back in as a root user, but I shouldn't have been able to do that. I'll just see the config file one more time. I'm typing something wrong here. And let me just probably a spelling typo or something like that. Need to reload the service again. Okay. Let's just go ahead and set this to straight out no. And that should do the trick, basically. And there we go. It actually now requests for the root password. It doesn't go over the keys. So if I type in the password. Okay, so permission denied, even though I did type in the right password. The password is basically test123 or lowercase t. It has to be one of the two, but it doesn't actually work. I can't log in. So let's just go ahead and try one more time. I know for a fact that this is the password because this is something that I've designed to actually put the weak passwords in. If I type it in again, and it says permission denied, please try again. Here, let me just type it in with a capital letter. And nope. Let me just write it one more time for charms. And nope, permission denied. But if I do this, sheep, it's going to ask me for a password here. It's the same password, test123. And there you go. I am able to log in. But the problem is I'm not able to log in by using the keys. So I just need to copy the public key, which I have actually generated here. And I need to type in sudo su. Sorry, just su. And there you go. The password is, in fact, test123 for sure. Okay, let's clear the screen and the cd. Oh, shouldn't have done the cd/home. cd/root ls-a cd.ssh ls authorized keys, so cp authorized keys to /home /sheep.ss. Oh, I need to create the file first, sorry. mkdir/home /sheep.ssh. And now I'm going to go ahead and cp authorized host to /home /sheep.ssh. And now I'm going to go into /home /sheep, and I will type in ch own sheep .ssh, and I will give the recursive here because I wish to change the ownership of this. I'm going to type in exit, and I'm going to attempt to log in. And there you go. Voila. You don't need a password anymore. You can just log in with keys. And what have we done here? Let's just cap up before the time runs out. I have removed the root user from the direct SSH login, so you can no longer log into the server as root. You can log in with a regular user and then become root on the server from that regular user. Otherwise, you can't. So it's an extra security layer, and you cannot log in as root to the server. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and set up the proxy, but we're going to do that in the follow-up. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. Anyway, now that we are on the server and that we've configured all the miscellaneous things for the management, now we can go ahead and actually install the proxy server. So let's just, I'm gonna go ahead and become root here. And by the way, don't share your password with anyone for root or any passwords whatsoever. I don't care. As I said, I'm gonna destroy everything upon the completion of this tutorial. Anyway, we shall type in apt-get install squid3. So it might take a little bit of time. Yes, and the beautiful thing about the system is that, you know, I only have one CPU and I think I have around 12 megabytes of RAM. And this is running hilariously well. Granted, there is no GUI, but I don't really need it for anything. It's a server. Okay, so now that the installation process is done, I would like to start configuring the Squid proxy server. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to need to modify the configuration file. It is a good idea and a good practice in general to actually create a backup of that file. That would be my phone. I'm terrible with my phone. People always send me messages and ring me at wrong times. It's hilarious. Anyway, let's go ahead and back up our config file. So if something goes wrong, we always can use it as a reference pointer. We can just go ahead and restore it. So etc squid3 squid.conf needs to be copied to etc squid3 squid.conf, and we're gonna name it .original. Or you can name it backup or something like that, doesn't really matter. Next up, we will need to go ahead and, well, actually we won't. Basically, just prior to the editing, we should make some sort of a copy, and not a bad idea. It's a good idea to actually protect it from writing, so you will have the original settings as a reference. So no matter what happens, we won't be able to write to this file unless that is changed. So ch mod, and we're gonna go ahead and state that it's -x, not -x actually, that's execute, -w. So we are subtracting the write permissions. Actually, let me go ahead and show it to you first. ls-l see squid3 squid original, and you can see that the root user still has write permissions, but if I take away those permissions, nobody will be able to modify it unless the permission is explicitly granted by root. So chmod -w, and let's go ahead and do the listing now. See, nobody has the right to actually write to the file now. Not the user, not the group, not the world, no one. Everybody can read it, which is fine, but nobody can actually write to it. Okay, now we're gonna need to type in vim/etc squid3 squid.conf, and welcome to Squid 3.4.8. Let's go ahead and start messing around with it. So in order to set the port, the TCP port to listen on, I mean, you can use the default one, which should be 3128. You can change the, let me just go ahead and find it, HTTP underscore port. Disable flag on HTTP instead, default. Okay, so we could theoretically change the port here. It says since Squid 3.0 uses the disable PTMU directory, flag on HTTP port instead. Okay, so something has changed from the previous versions that I have looked at, but I mean, it doesn't really affect us now because I'm not going to be really changing the port. I just showed you, there you go. It says HTTP port 3128. So if you want some different port that the Squid proxy will listen on, you can just change this number. But I, at this point in time, don't really see a need to actually change it, really. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. You can change the visible host name and give the specific host name to the Squid server, but that's not really that important. There is also a way of actually limiting access to your proxy server, like only a certain set of IP addresses can access it. But we're not going to be doing that because the idea is to allow everybody to use it, and then I will show you when you use it how you can monitor the traffic, and the same method can be applied to everybody else, even though that's like, that's not really a very nice thing to do at all. So you don't really need to actually change anything here. I just wanted to show you where you can change things. Port being one of the key things to change here, but it's good to have the backup file anyway. Before we actually start the server itself, we will need to punch a hole in our firewall. And if you have Nmap installed on your main system, and you should, if you don't, just type in DNF installed Nmap. And on the client system, and this should install it. It's a fairly small package. You see it's already installed here. If I do Nmap, the IP address of this server is 46.101.153.159. If I press enter, and I'm scanning myself, so that's fine. I am perfectly entitled to scan myself. It says that I have a port 22, which is the default SSH port, which is open. Our PC behind this is something. And that the squid actually 3128 is open as well, which is nice that it did that by default. But we will see, will there be any interference from the firewall? Now, next up is systemctl. You can use service command as well. I'm just going to go ahead and give a status squid3 service. Is it actually running? Yes, it's actually running. It is loaded. If I do like, if you want to start it or restart it, you can just, instead of status, you can type in either start or restart or whatever you want there. So that's perfectly fine. Okay, so now let's go back to the proxy list here and let's see if we have actually configured everything right. In case we have, this is going to work. In case we haven't, we're going to go to the next tutorial and begin troubleshooting, because I don't really want to exclude the troubleshooting part from these tutorials. A lot of this actually, some of the commands I've written in my notes, but a lot of this I'm doing on the go. So the problems that I encounter are I figured that the same problems that I encounter are the same problems that you will encounter. So I figured I would just be solving them on the go, and you would be able to get some troubleshooting knowledge along the way if something does go wrong. So etc proxychains.conf. Oh my god, I have a lot of them here. Just press cipher insert. And this is all gonna go away. It needs to be banished. It needs to be gone. So I can't have it there. And we also didn't specify what sort of a proxy will it be. So what's the time? Okay, I'm running a little bit short on time, I think, anyway, because I didn't turn on my stopwatch. But we'll come back in the follow-up tutorial where we will actually specify the type of proxy, the IP address, and the port. The port is 3128, the one that we left. So I'll see you in the follow-up. Okay, so welcome back. Meanwhile, I've actually allowed the proxy to run. I mean, I've shut it down, and now we're going to go ahead and begin specifying what type of a proxy it is and the IP address and the port. But I did actually just let it run for a while to prove a point. And here you go. These are the actual Wireshark traces. I have actually started receiving connections, and then I began tracing the IP addresses. And I don't know, one was from Canada, the other one was from Taiwan. And this is actually the second run which I made. There was the first run, and during the first run I had way more IP addresses connecting directly to me. So that was kind of a weird experience. I actually closed the firewall and took the proxy down. Anyway, my point being is that this is basically how people create honeyspots, and then they track you online because you're using their proxy, so they can see what it is that you are doing, and they can see where you're coming from. They can see where you're coming from and where you are going. So that being said, it is far more difficult to actually hide your proxy as opposed to just the need to advertise it, because you will, if you run an open, transparent public proxy, you will be picked up. Like there's no going around it. You will be picked up. Like there are so many scanners running out there, they will figure out that you're using it. One of the countermeasures that you can enact is change the default port from 3128 to something at random. Then again, that's not going to help you that much. The thing that will probably help you the most is to actually set up authentication for your proxy, but that is not really the objective of today's exercise. The objective of today's exercise is to create a proxy honeypot through which people will connect and where you will be able to follow up on the traffic. You'll be able to see what is going on. But I am not going to actually be recording anyone's traffic because I'm not interested in anyone's traffic. I will record my own traffic and then I will show you that. If somebody at random connects during the session, I had nothing to do with it really, and nor do I particularly care for their traffic. I'm not gonna mess around with that. I'm just gonna mess around with my own information that goes through my own proxy. Anyway, let's go back to the vim/etsy proxychains.conf. And Squid3 by default is HTTP. And then you type in the IP address of the server. You can just type in ifconfig and you will get the IP address here. So just copy paste it. And then the port which you configured, which is 3128. Now, before you actually start this, let me just right quit. Well, I don't actually need to write anything because I've already written it. And this is to be edited with a root user, not with a regular user. I just wanted to show you the entry. Anyway, there are a few minor modifications which you will need to make. So you see I installed T-Shark so I can actually monitor traffic. I will show you how to do that as well. But let me just, I've actually even deleted the rule in the firewall in order to actually close it. Let me just show you. Nmap 46.101.153.159. Yep, there we go. So the port is not even visible. It's completely closed. It's gone, non-existent. I don't really care about that. If I do IP tables -L, you will see that the chain input actually doesn't contain entries, so the default policy will be to actually drop the packets, unless specified differently by some particular service or something like that. Anyway, let me just go ahead and so we don't need to actually start it. I'm just looking for the config file. Okay, so vim/etsy/squid3/squidconf. Go into this file, and here we're gonna go ahead and enact some changes. So the first thing that we're gonna be looking is the HTTP access. So just press escape, / and type in HTTP_access and press enter. And then that will search for this string, and then press N for the next one and go next, 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 next. Okay, so this is the first line which you will need to change. There's going to be a hash here in front of this, so you just need to remove that hash. So just completely remove the hash, and it says deny request on to certain unsafe ports, which is basically if it's port 80 or something like that, the connections are gonna get dropped, which is not something that we want. So go ahead and remove that. And then we go down, HTTP access allowed, deny, just leave that as it is. Manager, that's fine. Next, and Okay, so at 15% of the file, you'll get like HTTP underline access allow all. Okay, before you actually do this, or you can just, I mean, it's far better to just follow along and not actually do what I'm doing here. The default one will be deny all. Now, when you put allow all, this is a universally stupid thing to do. To basically allow all sorts of traffic to actually come in and go out, which is like yuck. But that's basically what a free, transparent open proxy is, and then people will be able to connect and work on all sorts of ports, and do all sorts of things. So keep in mind that you will be held accountable and responsible for the things that are done from your proxy. So I am doing. I like to think that I know what I'm doing, but I mean, I don't like to claim that I'm 100% certain at all times. However, I know for a fact that this is universally a stupid thing to do, but this is a method for creating a proxy honeypot, and I need to do it in order to show it to you. I'm doing it in a controlled environment. I am going to do it for a very short amount of time, and I am going to monitor my own traffic. So I don't really have a lot to worry about because I will take the server down. I will destroy the server afterwards. But if you leave it running and if you have paid for it, you will be responsible for the traffic that goes through it. Keep it in mind. It's a serious thing, not really. It's not a joke. Just please be aware of that fact. Okay. Anyway, moving on. We're gonna go ahead and write quit, and then we're gonna go ahead and start. So systemctl start squid3.service. I've started, and let's go ahead and type in proxy chains for Firefox. By the way, make sure that all the instances of Firefox are closed before you start this. If they're not, this will not work. All right, Firefox. And let me just go ahead and minimize this. And you can see that I am immediately accessing my own domain. And you can see how fast is it actually going when you know that the proxy is 100% functional. And now on the remote system, type in apt-get install tshark, and it's already installed here, so no problems there. And then type in the following command. I will explain the Wireshark in more detail later on when we actually perform packet capture and analysis. But for the time being, you can just type in tshark and then specify the interface and then specify the filter here. So TCP port 3128 of our proxy, and press enter. And yep, this is going to show you what's going on. So one of these is my IP address and the other one is actually from the server. So 101 is from the server and 4636.161.110 is my own. So you can see there is a lot of communication going on. If I go here and type in what is my IP address, it says here that I am in Frankfurt, Hessen, Germany. So 46.101.153.159. That is exactly the IP address of my proxy, and that is the IP address that I am actually getting there. I can go to a more specific place, and you see it's gonna actually share location. Not now. So it's just knows that I'm here by the IP address because IP addresses have been indexed, and by the IP address there's a geo IP database lookup where you can find the approximate location of the IP address. ISP DigitalOcean, so that's where it's being hosted. This is the city region, Germany. Okay, so let's go ahead and check something else out. DNS leak test. Let's go through the standard test. And okay, so I'm using the Google DNS servers, and it's throwing me onto Netherlands. So this is fine. I have managed to change my IP once again by using my own proxy. I've also changed the DNS servers, and the traffic is like blah 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 somewhere going through here through this proxy system. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and close the browser, stop the capture here, clear the screen. Then I can go ahead and continue the capture. If you let it run for like an hour or something like that, you are bound to see here output here. People will start connecting to you. Just a matter of time, really. So make sure that you are supervising what is happening, and once you're done, make sure to actually shut down the service, and if necessary, implement firewall rules to actually close the port. But as soon as you shut down the service, it's going to be fine, because there will be nothing listening on the port, so it won't be open at all. Anyway, in the follow-up tutorial, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and mess around with this a little bit more, and we'll see how it works. Oh, by the way, down below you can see that the dynamic chain is working. I could have placed a strict chain here without any problems, so I am able to dial the proxy server without any problems again. It's very fast, it's working just fine, and some of the things are denied, but that's okay. All the sites have loaded without any problems. One more thing. If you see, for example, that port 80, it says instead of okay, denied, and port 443, it says okay, that just means that you didn't configure the option where I've shown you not to enforce the port 443 in the squid proxy config file. Basically, if there are any other ports listed here where it says denied, if some ports are allowed and some ports are like okay and other ports are denied, you know that the problem lies within the port configuration of the squid proxy config file. There are a lot of things that you can do in that file. The file has more than 5,000 lines of code written in it, so you can implement a download of rules. You can specify that you can connect only from that the connections will be accepted on the proxy only from one IP address, that the connections will, I don't know, like require a username and a password, and that they will be permitted only on certain ports, etc., etc., etc. But as I said, this is not the objective of today's exercise. The objective of today's exercise is to create a honeypot from where the information can be extracted. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and bid you farewell, and we shall see each other in the follow-up.